the analyst Alex Scott. Why Man United and Arsenal are battling for £80 million Diamond, who's refused to sign new Bournemouth deal, how he dominates midfield despite slight frame, the attributes that wowed Mikel Arteta and United's advantage in race. When it comes to recruitment at the highest level of the game, it is often the intangibles that set players apart. Does he get on well with teammates? Can he listen and take on board tactical information? In the case of Bournemouth's Alex Scott, who has turned down a new contract offer from the club, it's his intangibles report card. Just as much as his passing, dribbling, and all-action play on the pitch, that has Manchester United, Arsenal, and Tottenham Hotspur circling with intent this summer, with the player valued around £80 million.
Still spending forever chopping vegetables? The Full-Star Pro vegetable chopper dices onions, potatoes, and more into its container in seconds, helping make meal prep faster and tidier. Want to check today's Amazon deal? Scan the QR code now or visit grabdeal.us/2 before it's gone.
He's an absolute diamond off the pitch. He's really, really good, and he's one that you just want around the group. Ian Foster, who managed Scott with England under-19s and under-20s, tells Daily Mail Sport. He's such a good kid, and I think he's still under the radar for me. Brian Tinian chuckles when those comments are put to him. When he was Bristol City technical director, he brought Scott to Ashton Gate from Guernsey FC, who play in the Isthmian League. The best thing about him is his attitude, Tinian explains. His attitude to play, the attitude to training, and he was never one bit of bother from the minute he walked in the building until the minute we sold him to Bournemouth. He was the absolute dream young person to work with. Bournemouth midfielder Alex Scott is being chased by Arsenal, Manchester United, and Tottenham this summer. The former Bristol City man is now valued at around £80 million. The intangibles weren't always enough, however, and more concrete hurdles almost killed Scott's career. His lack of height and physicality as a youngster saw Southampton cast him aside. He had a year at Bournemouth, fell out of love with the game, and went back home to Guernsey, where he became their youngest ever player. He decided to take one last swing at making it in England with a trial at Bristol City. This was likely his last chance, and he had to take it. We organized a friendly game for him against a London academy who wanted to play us, Tinian says. So Alex came across for the week, and he scored a perfect hat-trick in 35 minutes left foot, right foot, header. We'd seen and watched him, but watching him close up like this, he was outstanding. He rose to the occasion with England too. It was Scott's header, coming off the bench in a semi-final against Italy, that kept the young Lions on their path to winning the Under-19s Euros in 2022. And it was Scott who started alongside Elliot Anderson in last summer's Under-21s Euros final, helping to throw Germany completely off their game. So, to answer the questions posed earlier, is he a good trainer? He often changes games at the highest level from the bench. Does he get on well with teammates? Nobody has a bad word to say about him. Can he listen and take on board tactical information? Managers spoken to for this piece insist he can take on the most detailed of briefs. Well, after joining Bournemouth in 2023 for £25 million, a knee injury restricted him to 3 games, then a year later he tore his meniscus. He broke his jaw on the eve of the Under-21s Euros and came off injured and in tears in the final. He bounced back in the season just gone to get Bournemouth into Europe. And though he didn't quite make this summer's World Cup squad, he was on Thomas Tuchel's radar enough to join the Florida training camp. Scott and Elliot Anderson, who has completed a £116 million move to Man City, were a superb pair in England's Under-21s Euros win last year. Scott has impressed Thomas Tuchel to the point he was called up to England's pre-World Cup training camp in Florida. His versatility makes him an attractive target to many of the game's elite clubs. Having first been deployed as a wingback by Bristol City, Scott has moved inside, playing as a deeper-lying no-6, a box-to-box no-8, and an attack-minded no-10 just behind a striker, where Manchester United are targeting a rhythm-setting defensive midfielder to complement Kobbie Mainoo and Bruno Fernandes. Arsenal are seeking ball carriers to help get them up the pitch quicker in transition. Deceptively strong, Scott showed last season what an impressive driver of the ball he is, with 21% of his carries deemed to be progressive stats providers define this as taking the ball at least 5 meters closer to the opposition goal. That was the fourth highest mark of any defensive midfielder in Europe's top 5 leagues last season. Under Andoni Iraola at Bournemouth and Lee Carsley with England under 21s, Scott has more recently been tasked with a deeper role, working as a rhythm disruptor. He did that to great effect, particularly alongside Anderson, one of his best friends in football, on international duty. Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta, who values players who can play in multiple positions such as Mikel Merino, Miles Lewis-Skelly, Kai Havertz, and any number of his centre-backs who can also play at full-back, got a first-hand example of Scott's class in April, when Bournemouth came to the Emirates Stadium and played the Gunners off the park in a 2-1 victory, with Scott getting the winner. He has played for us as a no 10, a no 8. Today as a no 6, and he has added a lot of defensive work and a lot of duel winning to the ability he has on the ball, Iraola explained after that match. I'm very happy because he is becoming a very, very complete player. For Foster, it is important that Scott continues to rotate through the roles he can play, rather than keeping him stuck in one position. Whether it's 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, I wouldn't pigeonhole Alex really in terms of a number on his back, he says. I just think he can affect the game really positively. I think he's got really high levels of game understanding, and he just knows what's required. He's an old-fashioned, all-around midfield player. If you would have asked what Paul Scholes and Roy Keane were, they were central midfield players, and I think Alex is that. He can get up and down, he can hold midfield, he can burst into the box, he can score and create. He's an all-round, really, really good midfield player. Scott's ability to dribble through the midfield is of particular interest to Arsenal, who need players that can break down opposition defenses. Scott's defensive ability is a lot better than his slight frame would make you expect. This summer transfer window will be defined by the market for central midfielders. Anderson has sealed a British transfer record £116 million move to Manchester City. Spurs spent a combined £185 million on Sandro Tonali and Matheus Fernandes. Both Enzo Fernandez, Chelsea, and Bruno Guimaraes, Newcastle, would fetch enormous fees if they were allowed to leave. And the stats show Scott has already vaulted himself into the conversation among the Premier League's best midfielders, able to turn a match on his own. He ranked third behind Anderson, 80, and Guimaraes, 75, for fouls won from central midfield last season. He made more clearances than Arsenal pair Declan Rice and Martin Zubimendi, both 78, and departed Manchester United anchor Casemiro, 73, and ranked third for completed dribbles, 29 among central midfielders, again behind Anderson, 50, and Morgan Gibbs-White, 30. He's very, very brave in terms of taking the ball under the pressure, Foster adds. He's got the ability as a midfield player to just beat you 1v1, he's very creative. Coaches are also quick to point to Scott's impact in both boxes, in terms of winning headers and duels at set pieces, as an area of the game supporters often overlook due to his Jack Grealish-like frame and appearance. But Scott's situation, in Bournemouth's view at least, is clear. With 2 years left on his deal, and new boss Marco Rose eager to build his whole project around Scott, Bournemouth have no appetite to sell, and maintain they are desperate to tie him down to a new deal that will increase his price tag, despite the midfielder rejecting fresh terms. Scott scores the winner against Arsenal at the Emirates Stadium in April. Tuchel is becoming increasingly enamored with the man once dubbed the Guernsey Grealish. That is unlikely to deter United, Arsenal, or Chelsea. Scott's stepsister Maya Letizier is captain of United's women's team. Her role in any pursuit may yet prove crucial. United have already splashed on midfield reinforcements this summer, signing Youri Tielemans from Aston Villa via his £38 million release clause, alongside adding Andrey Santos in a £50 million package from Chelsea. But United remain in the market for a third midfielder and will be encouraged by Scott's decision not to sign a new contract at Bournemouth. That said, United would struggle to make a meaningful offer without a sale. Arsenal, meanwhile, missed out on Morgan Rogers, who is set to join Chelsea in a £117 million deal, topping the record Anderson set earlier this month, but are keen on Newcastle's Guimaraes. Crystal Palace, West Ham, and Tottenham, the team he grew up supporting, all looked at Scott in January 2023, before passing up and allowing Bournemouth to get him a few months later. Scott is loved by Nigel Pearson, who gave him his debut at Bristol City, loved by Foster, and has a massive fan in Carsley. Iraola is smitten with him and may yet push him up Liverpool's shopping list, and Tuchel is becoming increasingly enamored with the man once dubbed the Guernsey Grealish. United, Arsenal, and Chelsea know those footballing minds can't all be wrong when it comes to the intangibles.